So, the Pentagon is dropping a cool $3.5 billion to build a shield in space. Yep, it's a massive investment, and it's all designed to counter a whole new generation of threats. Let's break down what this deal really means for the future of defense.
First up, let's just talk about that headline number. The U.S. Space Force's Space Development Agency, or SDA for short, just awarded contracts that add up to a staggering $3.5 billion. You know, a price tag that high isn't just about buying hardware, it's a huge signal about where the Pentagon's priorities are headed.
And what exactly does all that cash get you? Well, it buys 72 brand new super advanced satellites. But these aren't for your GPS or streaming TV. Nope, these are designed for a much more critical mission, to build a new defensive layer way up in low Earth orbit.
All right, so let's get into it. Section 1, the $3.5 billion space deal. We'll start with the what. What is this thing they're actually building?
Okay, it all centers on this concept right here, the Proliferated Warfighter Space Architecture, or PWSA. It's a mouthful, I know, but think of it like a giant web, a multi-layered network of satellites all flying in low Earth orbit. And its job is really twofold. One, to create lightning-fast military communications, and two, and this is the big one, to do some seriously advanced missile tracking.
Now, it's really important to get this. This isn't the beginning of the project. These 72 satellites, they represent what's called Tranche 3. It's basically the third generation of this constellation. They're building on the lessons from earlier versions, and they're set to start launching in 2029. We're going to see how this whole tranche system works a little later on.
Okay, so on to Section 2. This brings us to maybe the most important question of all, the why. What specific problem is this multi-billion-dollar system actually designed to solve?
I mean, that's the question on everyone's mind, right? Why this massive investment now? The short answer is that the very nature of global military threats is changing, and it's changing really fast. The SDA's acting director, G.P. Sandhu, he laid out the mission pretty bluntly. It's about closing kill chains. That's the military's term for the whole process, from the second you detect a threat to the second you neutralize it. The goal here is to make that chain way faster and a whole lot more accurate.
So what are these advanced adversary threats he's talking about? Well, we're primarily talking about next-generation hypersonic missiles. These things travel at incredible speeds, and they can maneuver in flight, which makes them almost impossible for older systems to track. This new network is designed to provide what they call fire control quality data. That means the tracking is so precise you can actually use it to guide an interceptor missile right to its target.
All right, on to Section 3. Meet the 4 winners. Now, a contract this huge wasn't just handed to a single company. Let's take a look at how this deal was divided up among 4 major players in the industry.
So, as you can see, the pie is split 4 ways, with each company tasked with building 18 satellites. Lockheed Martin got the biggest slice. And you'll notice there are 2 different types of satellites here. The MW/MT ones are for basic missile warning and tracking, while the more advanced MWTD satellites can also help guide the defensive systems. You know, splitting the work like this is smart. It ensures the Pentagon has a much more resilient industrial base to rely on. This quote from Rocket Lab's CEO really captures the industry's perspective. He hits on 3 key words: resilient, scalable, and affordable. See, this isn't just a win for these 4 companies. It really signals a major shift for the entire defense space industry.
Okay, so we know the what, the why, and the who. But how does this all actually work? I mean, how do these 72 separate satellites come together to form one cohesive shield in space?
The whole architecture is actually pretty elegant when you break it down. It has 2 main parts. You've got the tracking layer, that's what these new satellites are part of, which acts as the eyes of the system, using infrared sensors to spot and follow missile launches. Then you have the transport layer, which is like the nervous system. It's a high-speed mesh network that instantly zaps that tracking data down to the warfighter on the ground, in the air, or at sea.
And this right here, this is the real game changer, the fundamental strategic shift. Instead of relying on a few huge, incredibly complex, and very expensive satellites, which, let's be honest, make for really tempting targets, the PWSA strategy is resilience through proliferation. By launching hundreds of smaller, more affordable satellites, the whole network becomes much harder to disable. Losing one or even a few doesn't bring the system down.
So how are they building this massive thing? They're using a really smart method called spiral development. As you can see, they started small with the demonstration tranche, just to prove the concept. Then they moved on to building out the initial capabilities. Now, with Tranche 3, they're scaling everything up, adding more capacity and better tech. The plan is to launch a new, upgraded tranche every 2 years or so, which lets them innovate super fast and stay ahead of new threats.
So what does all this mean for the future? Let's zoom out and look at the big picture, the real so what of this whole project. Ultimately, the goal is simple and incredibly ambitious: to achieve near-continuous global coverage, no blind spots. The system is being built to see any missile launch anywhere on Earth and track it all the way from launch to impact. The CEO of L3Harris really puts a fine point on the strategic implication here. Defeating hypersonic threats begins in space. This signals a fundamental shift. The new strategic high ground isn't just about aircraft carriers or tanks anymore. It's low Earth orbit. This network is designed to be the very first line of defense against the most advanced weapons of our time.
And that leaves us with one final, big question to think about. As global threats keep accelerating, is this kind of decentralized, ever-evolving shield in space our ultimate defense? Well, the Pentagon is betting $3.5 billion that the answer is yes.